Hello, I'm Zeke, and welcome to the Zekely podcast. Let's talk Pennsylvania. The guest I have today is a lifelong Pennsylvanian and Democrat who is currently serving as a state representative in the 181st District in Philadelphia. From working as a junior block captain with the Philadelphia Streets program at the age of 11 to speaking at the Democratic National Convention in 2024, he continues to fight for the underserved, and I believe he is the future of the Democratic Party. Thank you so much for being here, Representative Malcolm Kenyatta.
I'm Zeke, a doctor, a Pennsylvanian, and an unapologetic supporter of democratic values. You might have seen me on social media working my ass off for Democrats and meeting some pretty amazing people along the way, like President Barack Obama and Governor Josh Shapiro. For years, I've knocked thousands of doors all over Pennsylvania and poured my heart and soul into supporting candidates and causes that make a difference, from local school board races to national elections. The personal is political, and I take every election in Pennsylvania personally. Where the mainstream media has failed you, I will give you truth and independence. You'll hear from Democratic leaders, candidates, and changemakers who are working to improve the health of the Commonwealth, and it won't be boring as hell. No matter where you are, I'll meet you with hope and a plan to make your community better one day at a time. Welcome to the Zekely podcast. Let's talk Pennsylvania.
I'm happy to be there. Let me be probably not first to say, but Zekely podcast, I fucking love that. That's a great podcast name.
I cannot claim that I came up with the name. A very good friend of mine did, but when I heard it, I said, "Yep, that's it."
That's it right there.
Yeah. Well, it's so good to see you. We often run in the same circles of people, in the Democratic circuit, but we don't always cross paths. So it's just really great to have some FaceTime with you.
I'm happy to do it, and I'm really going to be listening to your podcast and watching your journey. And so, though we may not be in person, I will be hearing from you, Zekely.
Oh, there you go. You got it. You got it. Well, there's a lot to talk about. So let's get into it. All right.
Yeah, let's do it.
What is your go-to joke? Like if you have to break up a room and just settle things down, what's your go-to joke?
I don't have a go-to joke, but I will say I do think I'm funny. It's really about being in the moment.
Yeah.
I love a good callback.
Well, speaking of that, it was epic when you were at the Leah Chorus Center and somebody's phone went off and you said that's the future calling. That was that was a great moment. If you're listening to this, I don't know if anyone can Google Malcolm Kenyatta Leah Chorus Center. That was an amazing moment that you had.
Well, you know what? I kept it. It's on if you follow me on Instagram, which is just my name, guys. I'm at Malcolm Kenyatta. It's pinned to the top of my Instagram because that was a funny, cool
that was
moment.
Great.
So I think that's more my thing. Like how do you be in the moment?
I love it. You're a quick comeback. Let's talk about documentaries a little bit. I love watching documentaries. Do you have any recommendations for me on a documentary I can binge with my wife?
So what a leading question, and I'm happy to answer it. I think everybody should go to Apple TV or to Amazon and download Don't Wait Your Turn, which is an incredible documentary, which was done by Tim Harris of 7 Knots Productions and Al Roker, which is a story that followed my primary challenge against John Fetterman and my relationship with my husband, Dr. Matt. And, you can watch it. When I ran, there are a lot of people you might imagine who said, who does this, guy think he is, running for U.S. Senate? I have this crazy idea, Zeke, that what if government actually fucking worked for us and not the billionaires who had, front row seats to that catastrophe we saw in D.C. It should work for us. And there are not a lot of folks who understand what I understand about what it means when government works or doesn't work in the U.S. Senate. And so, I really worked my butt off to try to change that. But it was so special because, it's not the traditional political documentary. And what was so cool is how they centered my relationship, my marriage to my husband, Dr. Matt. And so you actually see portions of our wedding in it. And I don't know, it's a beautiful story. And what I hope it does is say to so many other people who are on the bubble about doing whatever that big thing is for you, just go do it. And, I hope that is what people take away from the story, not how great Malcolm is, but how great you are, person listening to this. Don't wait your turn. The time for turns is over. We have important things that we have to do to make sure that our future is much brighter than the darkness that feels like you can be consumed in right now.
I agree. I'm definitely going to watch that with my wife. Say the name again.
It's called Kenyatta, do not wait your turn.
Well, I'll definitely be checking that out. Thank you so much. So you are running to be the vice chair for the Democratic National Committee, the DNC, which is the leadership board for the United States Democratic Party. And the vote is coming up this February 1st. And I want to know, what was your desire to run for this position?
You know, after the last election, a couple of things were apparent to me, that as a party, if you look at the results in 2024, the further down ballot you went, actually in many ways, the better we did. And so clearly there are candidates who, you know, many of whom you supported and knocked on doors, who in very tough political environment were able to convince a majority of their neighbors that they're in it for them, and they are. And as a national party, I really believe that a couple of things are true, that if we want to win nationally, we have to win locally. But the impetus for me doing this is grounded in the experience that I've had, just like you, supporting candidates, really candidates at the bottom for school board, for borough council, that at the national level, it feels like nobody gives a damn. Nobody gives a damn. I mean, just think about it, for example. If you are a local school board candidate, and just if the National Democratic Party did something as simple as highlighted your race and retweeted just something you did, for a local school board candidate, that might be the biggest moment of engagement your campaign will ever have over the course of that race. Mm-hmm. And so we have to be in a position where our party cannot simply exist and worry about a national election every 4 years.
Yeah.
We have elections that are coming up in New Jersey, like in Virginia, key elections that are happening in a couple of months.
Right.
And so we have to think very strategically and thoughtfully about how do we move on from this moment, and how do we do so with the reality in front of us that Donald Trump did not win a majority of the votes of the American people. If we added to the ballot, didn't vote would have won 36% of the election. Yeah. And so there are a lot of people who did not vote in this election who we have to engage. That's the first thing I'll say. And the final thing I'll say on this is I refuse to spend the next 4 years somehow apologizing for being a Democrat, somehow apologizing to want to make sure everybody has health care, or apologizing for our commitment to ensure that we can, like, I don't know, have such luxuries as like drinking clean water and breathing clean air, apologizing for giving a damn about working people who want to organize on the job and be paid a living wage. I'm not apologizing for those things. And the Democratic Party is in a position where we have allowed other people to tell us who we are for too damn long. Beating up on Democrats is like a cottage industry. If you want to get on TV right now, go and talk shit about being a Democrat or the Democratic Party. And we are not going to win by flogging ourselves somehow to victory. We lost a close election. We should all be upset about that. We are going to experience every single day the impacts of losing that election. But we are not going to win by being the best articulators of what happened in the last election. That election's over. Yeah. We're going to have to figure out, how do we build the infrastructure to win the next election? And in my estimation, that starts with winning down ballot, with listening to people who are on the ground, who know their neighbors, and who are not spending every single day watching TV news. Reporters, TV news, they are not our friends. And I'm not suggesting it's their job to be our friends, but we can't get our marching orders from some high-paid consultant in DC or from some well-paid talking head on, whatever news station you watch. Our definition of what it means to be a good Democratic Party, a strong Democratic Party, has to be driven by what people are telling us on the ground. And we have local candidates who are listening and who are frankly winning. And I want to make sure those are voices that are heard at the national party, because a strong Democratic Party is a party that can deliver for working people and working families. But thank you for asking that question.
Absolutely. I mean, you are a grinder, and that is something that I respect so much about you. You don't just put in the work for yourself. When it comes to your campaigns, you show up for all Democrats up and down the ballot. And I know you're going to bring that energy to the DNC. So I'm so grateful that you're running for the vice chair position.
I really appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to play a game, okay? And I call it.
I love it. Let's do it.
We're going to play Poetry Corner, okay? Because you are an avid poet, and you founded the award-winning poetry collection Babel, which I guess won twice the College Union's Poetry Slam Invitational. Good. This game is for you. So I'm going to give you some one-liners, and you're going to try and tell me who the author was, okay?
Oh my gosh. I'm going to, in advance, if you're listening, I'm going to fail at this dramatically, but let's do it.
I mean, you'll probably do better than me, okay? So here's the line. No bird soars too high if he soars with his own wings.
Maya Angelou.
William Blake.
Hey, William Blake.
William Blake. There you go. It's okay. It's okay. This is fun. I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service.
Oh my gosh. I should be much better at this.
It's okay.
I don't know. Tell me, Zeke.
Okay, it's Rabindranath Tagore. I'm probably saying the name wrong. Yeah, it's a hard name to say, but it spoke to me. It spoke to me, you know? All right, here's one. All that glitters is not gold.
Langston Hughes.
William Shakespeare. This game is just fun. Get on all these gotchas. It's fun. All right, there's two more. Let's do it. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul.
Let me just say, I like whoever said that, and it sounds really good.
Emily Dickinson.
Hey, Emily.
Emily Dickinson.
Hey, girl.
All right, last one. For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it.
Now, there you go. Amanda Gorman, I can't screw that
You
up.
got it. I had a feeling you'd get the last one. Amanda Gorman, who I love very much, and she's
incredible and
powerful.
Who in so many ways comes out of the slam poetry tradition, because Babel was certainly a lot of the poets who I just butchered. We looked at my poetry professor, Dr. Kamika Williams Witherspoon. Would make us early on in a class that I took called Poetry as Performance, which led to me starting Babel because the class was incredible. And I said, there are a lot of us who want to keep doing this. And I'm happy to say that right now, on Temple University's campus, Babel is holding auditions 17 years later.
Wow.
17 years later, the organization's still going strong. And it's, it just gives me so much joy to know that, a little idea I had with two friends of mine, Ariana Santiago and Nia Davis, that it's still going.
That's amazing. Well, thank you very much for playing Poetry Corner with me. That was great.
And sorry to all the poets who are like, Malcolm sucks. He doesn't know his incredible lines. There we go.
It's all good and fun. What's something that you've been putting off for a while because you've just been so busy?
That is a really good question. So I would say putting away all of the books that are scattered on the floor of I call it, I'm going to use these air quotes, our shared office. So my husband and I have a shared office that I'm not really allowed to use other than to store my crap. And so the floor up there is like littered with so much of my crap. So I'm sorry, babe, I'm going to put away my books at some point.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think after the election, I did a lot of cleaning because I've been putting off for a long time. And now I feel like I need to hang out with some friends more often. I've just been so busy, and I need to hang out with some people and be more social because I feel very walled off from society sometimes with how busy we are. I mean, this is my side gig doing this podcast. I actually am a doctor full time, and so now with everything going on, I find myself so busy. So I want to slow down and spend some time with friends. So that's something
that's so important that you say that, and I'll tell you that's what we need more in this moment. Social media has made us more connected and more disconnected than we've ever been. Yeah. And so I'm happy to hear you say that. I'm going to add that to my list.
Yeah. We just need to have more social interactions in general, I feel.
Yeah.
So you are running for this vice chair position for the DNC. And I'm curious, would you still be able to serve as a state rep as vice chair?
Oh, 100%. Completely voluntary, volunteer, gig. And frankly, this is about continuing what I know you do all the time, supporting candidates up and down the ballot. We've seen vice chairs who do a lot, vice chairs who do nothing, right? I mean, it really depends over the years. And a part of it is the vice chairs don't have like very, prescribed roles, but I've been very clear on what I want my role to be: supporting local down ballot candidates. Enough people are focused on DC and what's happening in Washington. I want to be focused on what's happening in people's Elm Streets and Main Streets, what's happening in their communities. Because as we've learned over the years, who's on your school board, particularly now in terms of book bans and everything else, you might not have thought about that before, but now that's pretty damn important. Who's the commissioner who's counting the votes and whether or not they're going to do that fairly in a nonpartisan way? It's not something we thought about before. Now it's really important. And the list goes on and on and on. So that's where we have to be focused as a party. And if I'm lucky enough to be in this role, that's where I'm going to be focused.
Yeah. Well, I'm really happy you can still serve in the state legislature because I don't want any more special elections, okay?
No more special elections. I'm going to be around, my friend.
Oh, thank goodness. All right, here's like a classic question for an interview. What is your biggest strength, do you believe? A little self-promotion here.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm going to answer it this way. I think one of my biggest strengths is, I think, collaborating with people. And I do think when you start with the intention of every person you meet has something of value to offer and contribute, you don't want to leave any of that on the table. First of all, everybody's experts in their own life and experience. And if we are going to build strong teams to do anything, and you think about however you want to think about it, all organizations are just made up of a bunch of teams. Strong teams use everybody's strengths. And I like to walk in every room, trying to identify what people's strengths are and trying to identify how we can do important things together. I think too often we have gotten caught up, particularly with politicians, in the cult of personality, and it's tricked us. I don't want anybody in my cult. Okay, my husband wouldn't join my cult, so if he wouldn't join, then you definitely shouldn't join. I believe that the best things that get done, the things that we really remember, they're done by big groups of people and by utilizing all of their skills. And so I try to walk in every room, not putting myself down, recognizing that I have something to, value, but also recognizing so does everybody else. And if you're smart, you want everybody to bring their best to every interaction that you have. So
I love it.
Thank you so much,
potluck,
Zeke. Life's a big potluck.
That's right. Everyone has something to bring to the table. All right, let's play another game. One of my favorite games to play. Name That Committee, where we talk about, I love to play this game with people serving the state legislature because you all are on various committees where you discuss various legislation and bring them out of committee and vote on them. So I'm going to give you some things you would talk about in a committee, and you're going to tell me the name of that committee, hopefully.
All right, let's do it. I do better at this than the poetry one.
You're going to do great. What committee would you have heard testimony on public health challenges of legalizing cannabis?
So I hope in the health committee, but I know that there have been some bills that have touched on cannabis that have made their way to judiciary, but probably the health committee.
It was the liquor control, which was kind of...
You're kidding me.
Yeah, it was in liquor control. I thought that was interesting, which I guess...
I don't remember that.
It's like a similar vein, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's like, it can have the same type of effects, but yeah, it's on liquor control. And I'm sure that probably a lot more would progress with, legalizing cannabis in Pennsylvania if we had more Democrats serving.
Legalize weed, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm ready to vote for it. I've co-sponsored the bills. It's just ridiculous that we have folks who need access to this medicine that they can't get access to. And also that because of our inability to do this, we're leaving tax revenue on the table and we're allowing a black market to thrive. Legalize it, regulate it, tax it, and leave people the hell alone. Too many people are in jail for having a little blunt in their pocket or a joint. Like, let's get over it.
I agree with you. All right. What committee would have heard testimony on restorative justice practices focusing on non-carceral approaches to harm reduction?
So, happy to sponsor that legislation, and it was in judiciary.
There you go, judiciary.
And shout out to Representative Chris Rapp.
There you go. I love it. What committee would have discussed an act amending the Pennsylvania Election Code in preparation for and conduct of primaries and elections, further providing for assistance in voting?
So this one is state government, and believe it or not, I believe I am now like the longest, right now serving member of state government. Very important committee. Yeah.
That's great. All right,
it's a gift and a curse. Talking to my Republican colleagues about elections, not always fun.
That's awesome. All right, last one. What committee would have discussed an act amending the Professional Psychologist Practice Act and penalties against unlawful practice?
Professional licensure, of which I am a new member this session. So for anybody who has an occupational license, I look forward to talking to you this session.
And I, as a physician, I'm in that category. And if I have any questions, I know who to contact.
That's right.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for playing Name That Committee.
So see, guys, I did much better at that.
You did. You did a great job. Malcolm, why are you a Democrat? And why do you choose to represent the Democratic Party?
I have to say, that's one of my favorite questions, because I think in this moment, we have to remember who the hell we are. It is the Democratic Party that passed all of the modern social safety net, from Social Security to Medicare to Medicaid to unemployment. It is the Democratic Party that has worked to ensure that people, if you get sick, you can go to the damn doctor And we made so much progress over the last 4 years that you can leave that doctor's appointment I mentioned and actually afford the prescription, afford the things that you prescribed them. It is the Democratic Party that inspired this country to go to the moon and that has called us higher to treat people with dignity, decency, and respect. You think about the Civil Rights Act. You think about the Voting Rights Act. You think about the ability for people to marry who they love and not be fired from the job for putting up the picture of their loved one. It's the Democratic Party that has presided over the single largest expansion of new business applications that we've seen in the SBA, the Small Business Administration, in modern history, in the Democratic Party that, in fact, has been in a position where we have created more economic opportunity for folks who have a good idea, as I mentioned, want to start a business, but for people who wake up every day and go to a job and want to be protected by a union. It is us that fights for those values. And when I think about, the way that I grew up in a working poor family, a dad who was a social worker, a mom who was a home health aide, when I think about the reality that every holiday season, me and my siblings, we don't have a family house to go back to because we live 5 or 6 different places by the time we graduated high school. We buried our parents before I even turned 27 because they did not have access to the type of health care that everybody deserves. It is the party that gives a damn about families like mine. I think our challenge has been that Democrats have not always moved at the speed of the need that exists. But we can if we get the types of leadership that we need. And that leadership is going to come from the ground. And there's somebody who's listening to this right now who's been thinking about, do I run for my local committee? Do I step up for, I mentioned school board again and again because of how important it is. Do I run for register of wills or clerk of courts? Do it. Run for office. And when you do, when we have a government that reflects the fullness of the American experience, then and only then will we have a government that can fulfill the fullness of the American promise. I truly believe that.
Proud to have you as a Democrat representing me in Harrisburg. So thank you very much.
Thank you, my friend. And I'm proud of you and all the work that you do every single day. Seriously.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's talk about being an adulting. All right. What's something in life you didn't realize?
My least favorite word.
I know. What's something in life you didn't realize was going to be so difficult when you became an adult?
Paying bills.
Oh, yeah.
Geez, Louis. But also more seriously, and you mentioned this, and I think it's important to go back to. I didn't recognize how difficult it was going to be to stay in touch with friends. I've read a number of different articles about, people who are at the end stages of their lives, people who've interviewed folks in hospice or just folks who have lived a long time. And over again, a lot of researchers have found that in the top 3 things, people don't talk about their job or talk about any of those things. They talk about friends and family. And I think that the hustle and bustle of adult life, you go from being in school where, high school or college, if you chose to go to college or go to a trade program, whatever it is, whatever that looks like for you, where you have a structure where every single day you see people who, really matter to you. When you go into the workforce, that becomes less and less common, and you start families of your own and you stop seeing these people. And so I know that it's true for many folks that you're some of your closest friends, you're lucky if you see them twice a year.
Yeah.
And so, particularly in this moment where it's going to be so much noise and nonsense, so many shiny items thrown out by the guy who's currently leading this administration, that it's going to be really important for you to surround yourself with people you love and people who love you, because we need each other now more than we ever have. And I didn't recognize the way adulthood was going to make that so difficult.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely have grown apart from a lot of friends I used to have. Being a parent for me has definitely been, nothing you could have told me as a child could have prepared me for being a parent. It's definitely been the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. We had 3 kids, but it is the hardest job in the entire world.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
I get to just be an uncle. I get to just come do the fun stuff.
You get to have fun with the kids.
Real, I leave.
And then give them back. Yes.
Yeah.
That someday I'll be able to do that with my grandkids. So I'm looking forward to that. But not soon. Someday.
That's right.
Speaking about family, when did you and your husband meet?
So believe it or not, we met on Instagram in 2016. My husband, Dr. Matt, he started liking some of my posts. I started liking some of his posts. And I'll never forget. I said, this guy, we keep liking each other's posts. I was saying to my best friend, and this was at a time before, Meta owned Instagram, I believe, or at least very early on. And so Instagram was not a place where you did a lot of direct messaging, or at least I was not doing direct messaging. And so I'm like, hey, I don't even know if you'll even see this, message if I message him. And my best friend was like, don't message him. What if he's a murderer? And I was like, I don't know if this guy who's in California and I'm in Philadelphia is going to come all this way to murder me. But if he does, guaranteed lifetime movie.
Oh,
guaranteed.
For sure.
And I love a good lifetime movie. And I said, forget you, girl. I'm going to message him. And he had already messaged me. I never thought we would, actually be in a long-term relationship. He lived literally all the way across the world from me.
Yeah.
But lo and behold, the love of my life lived in Northern California the whole time. But we talked, maybe for 6 or 7 months before we actually met in person. I tried to come see him right after the 2016 election. And, I was so sad and so devastated. And he was like, you're too sad. I don't want to meet you like this. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
And so I was like, I never want to talk to you again. And so we didn't talk for a couple of days. And then I was like, okay, let's talk again. Come to Philly. He came to Philly, and it felt like I'd known him forever. February 5th, we'll be married for 3 years.
Hopefully 30 more. I'm really happy.
There you go. I hopefully he stuck with me for more than 30 years.
30
he
plus.
Stuck with me forever. There you go.
30 plus. So I don't, and I think you'll agree with me on this. I don't like when people shit talk Democrats. I really, really don't like it because I'm a proud Democrat. I've seen what the party can accomplish when it has the power to do so. I think that's the key. So what do you say to people who have become critical of the Democratic Party?
Listen, let me say this. We are in a position where I think we have derived too much of our identity from, who praises us in the op-ed pages. If you watch cable TV, the voices they bring on are the people who want to shit talk Democrats. They don't have you on unless you are somebody who has something ridiculous to say, about our party. Now, it does not mean, and we cannot be, a party that is not self-reflective and even self-critical. But I don't think Democrats suffer from a lack of self-critical reflection. I think all we do is criticize ourselves. And I think the reason that really matters is who the hell wants to join a pity party? Right. Nobody wants to be a part of a pity party. People want to join something that's fun and focused on the future. And I've said it. Yes, we lost a close election. And I think there's been so many things written about how and why that was, and we should read those things. But we should also be clear-eyed that we're not going to win the next election by somehow retroactively winning the last election. That election's over.
Right.
And we have to figure out what's happening next.
Right. I agree with you. And I just feel like the mainstream media has given permission to a lot of people everywhere to keep talking negatively about the Democratic Party. And it's unfounded because the Democratic Party is the only viable party to push back against Republican extremism. The only viable party. And I think that we need to understand that if we want incremental change over time, then we have to show up in every election, right? Every election, the entire ballot, and then eventually we'll get what we want. But I don't think that the way to get there is to talk negatively about the only party that will do the most for all Americans. And so
Let me say this, we have to get much better about, as my friends would say, you get out there and you talk your shit, be proud of what we've, accomplished. Because if you ask the American voter about a number of things that Democrats did accomplish, they don't know we did it. They don't know we did it. And so it's not good enough to do good things. You have to tell people the good things that you do. So we have to get out there, be a little bit more bold, be a little bit more unapologetic, and talk about what we will do if given the opportunity. I'm not going to spend the next 4 years chasing every shiny thing that he throws out. I'm going to spend the next 4 years reminding every person who I come into contact with the type of government that we can have that's buy-in for the people, not buy-in for billionaires. And we can do that. We can do this work. I mean, I truly believe in us, and I wouldn't be running if I didn't.
Good. Well, I believe in it too, and I believe in you. So thank you very much.
You too, my friend.
Let's talk about your service as a state representative. What has been your proudest accomplishment?
I would say couple of things. Me and Representative Jen O'Mara, 4 years ago, she and I understood that there's a real issue with folks who are on our college campuses who are food insecure. Mm-hmm. It is a silent issue where so many of our students, are eligible for food stamps. And so we got in the budget and have now for 4 budgets, $1 million to go to hunger-free campus, initiatives. And that's something that we were able to just get tucked into the budget. Very, very, proud of that.
That's great.
I got a bill, again, tucked into another bill to help expand liquor opportunities for our small theaters. Mm-hmm. And there are so many small theaters who, movie and performance venues, who can now sell alcohol in Pennsylvania, mm-hmm. which is, key. Nobody goes to the movie anymore without being able to get a drink.
That's true.
And we had to change that paradigm. And again, you don't get a big bill signing for everything that you do, but if you're not worried about getting the credit and you're just worried about getting things done, you can mm-hmm. get a lot of things done. But we've been trying to get out of the House for 22 years, and we were able to get out last session. The Senate sadly didn't take it up, but mm-hmm. called the Pennsylvania Fairness Act, which basically says that no matter who you are, what you look like, who you love, that you can't be fired from your job or denied public accommodations, and that if that does happen, that there's a process, for you to be treated with the fairness that everybody deserved. And it took 22 years for that bill to even get a vote on the House floor. I was a prime sponsor of that vote in a bipartisan way. As I said, we got that bill out of the House and over to the Senate. And so, hopefully we can get it done this session. I'm certainly not holding my breath, but I'm certainly going to be fighting like hell to get it done. So I know I did not give you one, but I think that really matters.
Yeah, it does matter. And we just have to get more Democrats elected. And then we will get that certainly passed someday when we have control in the state Senate. What is something that not many people know about you?
Something that not many people know about me. I always go to this because I love it and I just want to push it out as much as possible. And I don't get paid for this, but I am a huge fan of the Great British Bake Off. I am obsessed. I don't think there's a podcast I've ever been on where I did not bring this up, mostly because I want one of the producers of the show to hear this and invite me to the white tent. But it's so important to me because, it's one of the ways that I turn my brain off. And just watch these people do these incredible bakes and be so nice and just do their thing. I adore it. It's so good. If you don't watch it, really take me up on it. It's so good. It will change your life.
I'm gonna have to check it out. I don't think I've ever watched a full. Is it a series or just like a one-time event every once in a while?
Oh, it's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing.
They have seasons and there's a holiday special. It is the best show in the world, I think. Great British Bake Off.
Great British Bake Off. I'm going to have to check that out. That's great.
If you don't have Netflix, steal somebody's password and watch it.
I hope that as you continue to show yourself on podcasts, that eventually they're going to pick this up and they're going to invite you on as a special guest.
Please.
I'll plug you. If there's ever a vote, I'll vote for you, okay?
Thank you, my friend.
As a special guest. This is another segment I enjoy, Small Business Spotlight. What's a small business that you'd like to promote in your district that you want more people to know about?
There's one called Cake Life in the Fishtown, Kensington section of my district. Incredible little cake shop, as the name implies, with just some of the best cake. I just bought, Matt's birthday was not too long ago, and he loves cheesecake. I'm a big fan of cheesecake, so know the way to Matt's heart, buying cheesecake.
Cheesecake.
And we did, instead of, traditional birthday cake, we did a cheesecake, and I got it from our friends at Cake Life.
Nice. Well, I'll have to check it out if I'm ever in your neck of the woods. Thank you for that.
Yeah, please do.
Let's talk about funerals for a second. You maybe never have been asked this question, but what do you want your funeral to be like?
The main thing I want at my funeral is good music. I love music, and I know that's of course, who doesn't love music? But I really love music. I have very, very eclectic music taste, and I think I hope my funeral has really good music.
Good music. Yeah, I've told my wife what I want my funeral to be like, and she's probably not going to do it. She's probably not. I've always...
She's this is my decision now.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've always wanted a Viking burial. And I don't know why.
Oh,
I just,
hell yeah.
Where they push you out onto a body of water, the fiery arrow. Right. That's so epic with bagpipe music or something. I don't know. And I told her this. She just looked at me and said, that I'm not doing that. She's like, I'm not doing that for you. I'm glad you can fantasize about that, but it's not going to happen. So
she's not doing it. So
she's not going to do it.
She know this.
And she's going to be in charge. So I'm probably not going to have a Viking burial, but it's something I've thought about. So,
but I hope I have like, a little mini concert. Okay?
Yeah.
I want people to bring their best. Their best. Good
I
music,
think
nothing pre-recorded. People got to stay.
I think you have a much higher likelihood to get what you want than what I want at a funeral. All right, let's play one more game, Constitu-What, where you tell us some constituent services that you provide in your district.
I love that. So, in our district office, we can help with any state-related service. And so a lot of times people need to fill out their rent and mortgage rebate program, which is a great program for our seniors, folks with disabilities, our low-income folks, to get back some money. And we passed, I was so proud to vote for the single largest expansion in the rent and mortgage rebate program in the last 30 years, which is just incredible. So we raised the awards. So we raised how much now people can get up to $1,000, or we raised the income threshold. So now more and more Pennsylvanians benefit from it. So that's really exciting. But also people need help with like getting their real ID or getting their birth certificate, all of those issues. But I always say to people, and I've always said to my staff, I don't care what you come to our office for, whether it's a state issue or not. We are going to make sure at the very least we give you a warm handoff to the people that can help you, and not just say like, go Google it or here's a number, call them. I remind my staff that we only get to do this work because of our neighbors who've given me this incredible opportunity to serve. And, we want to not waste a day, waste a day.
Yeah, I'll be sure to post a link below for people to check out your constituent services, just to make it easier for people. Because I think it's important to realize that your state reps can do a lot of things for you. And if you're frustrated and don't know how to do something, I'm sure the people who work in your office would be more than happy to answer over the phone or search on your website, and you can get a lot of things done for you just through your representation.
Absolutely. And we always try to educate people. So if you have a pothole and you want somebody to fix it, then like, how do we get you to city council and help you understand the process so that you can fix things, moving forward? It's just such a humbling opportunity to serve. And I just give so much credit to my incredible staff. And, I get to do what I do because, I've hired some of the best people who love and care about my neighbors as much as I do, and who get up every single day and work their hearts out to change outcomes for those folks.
I have 3 more questions for you, okay?
Yeah, please.
Are there any sports that you think should be an Olympic sport that is not already?
Spades. I know they're talking about making poker an Olympic sport, but I think spades should be an Olympic sport.
Do you think that you would be a competitor?
I would be an Olympic gold medalist. Hands down. And if anybody doubts me, get a partner, let's go.
Got it. Who taught you how to play?
My mom. Mom, and probably my mom and my dad. I mean,
gotcha.
You got to learn how to play spades. And I learned at a young age. It's the best card games ever existed.
Spades. I don't think I've ever I played a lot of games with my kids. I don't think I've ever played spades.
You got to play spades.
Right.
But I will tell you, if you're playing spades right, it doesn't matter if you're family or friends, feelings will be hurt. Grudges will be nurtured.
Oh my gosh.
And that's how it goes.
That's crazy. Well, we'll have to try and talk to the committees, see what we can do.
That's right.
Malcolm, what gives you hope?
The young people who I meet every single day, and I know that sounds like such a, Pollyannish answer, and I'm still pretty young myself, but I do believe that hope is work. Hope is not just this uninformed idea that tomorrow is going to be better. Hope is the understanding and the knowledge that tomorrow will be better because we're here. And we are more powerful than we know, particularly when we pool our collective power. We can be a place where literally we treat everybody with dignity, decency, and respect. We've never fully done that, but I'm damn sure not going to give up trying.
Me neither. And my last question for you is, and you kind of already talked us a little bit about your plans, but what plans do you have to get yourself through these next few years?
One of the things that's been really important, particularly over the last two years or so, committed myself to like a serious health journey. And I say to people who are considering their own, health journey, whatever that looks like, that if being mean to yourself worked, it would have already worked. I try to spend every day saying nice things to myself. And so I tell you that whole story because I think in this moment, what we need to do first and foremost is be good to ourselves. Because when I think about the people who are cruel in this world, they're not nice to themselves. That's why they're so cruel to everybody else.
Right. Hurt people hurt people.
Hurt people really do hurt people. And I think a lot of times it's easier to externalize the negative things that are, that are said and done. And so I think in this moment, we have to prioritize self-care. I think first and foremost, what it means is redefining how we speak to ourselves.
Self-talk is important. And we're going to have to do a lot of positive reinforcement and talk these next couple of years. That's for darn sure. Well, Representative Kenyatta, Malcolm, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I am, again, so honored that you're still representing us in Pennsylvania. I'm so grateful you're running for this vice chair position for the DNC. I do truly believe you are the future of the Democratic Party, and I really hope in the vote next month that you'll be doing the job.
Well, thank you, my friend. I'll be back here Zekely, so should your listeners.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining me here on the Zekely podcast. Stay hopeful and get involved. And until next time, let's keep building a stronger Pennsylvania together.